Hey guys, welcome back to the lair. Make sure you stick around to check out the survival charts later in my video. Sure to add excitement and danger to any campaign setting out there. Thanks guys. In today's video we're discussing a topic many of you have been interested in for a long time. Exploration and survival. It feels like most games lack these two pillars and focus far more on combat and roleplay. It's a bit of a shame, really, but it represents the new style of games that have, well, ended up becoming the majority in the last 10 years or so. I was recently watching a video on Ginny D's channel, where she was talking about travel and how Dungeon Masters should really just, well, skip travel if it doesn't really affect the story. She did backtrack slightly and say, well, I'm not saying that travel should never be an active part of gameplay. I'm just saying that if it is an active part of gameplay, it should probably matter to the story somehow. Well, Ginny D, I couldn't disagree with you more. Travel isn't supposed to tie into the story, or at least, it shouldn't have to. Exploration should be about the pursuit of the unknown. So having it constantly relate to the campaign or the story just seems a little bit, well, bogus to me perhaps. Sometimes the players want to break from the main plots and stories and really just want to sink their teeth into something that's a little bit different, some different prospects. I also don't like how my players feel, like every random encounter coincidentally ties into the story. That's not a good thing, in my opinion. And I understand that not all players are interested in travel, but the advice to completely skip it just takes away from what I feel like is the foundation of tabletop gaming, and also what most players actually do want, which is a sandbox game. The problem is, there are lots of Dungeon Masters who clearly don't know how to run a sandbox campaign, and when there is contradictory information out there encouraging you to railroad or run linear adventures, it's easy to question and doubt whether including travel makes sense or not. Remember, travel isn't totally about exploration, it's also about survival. It's about finding water, hunting for meat, setting up camps, discovering ruins and dungeons, which could lead to exciting opportunities. You miss out on a lot of potential side quests and content when you decide to handwave survival altogether. And travel, I guess. I imagine some of you are probably thinking right now, well, Loki, how can I run travel scenarios in my games without my players getting bored? Well, definitely not by skipping them, for one. I'll tell you guys how to do it, and if you guys like it, then you're welcome to do that, to do it in that way as well. My players start off in the city of Rio, the illustrious capital of my local duchy. If you watch any of my recent videos or previous videos, you'll know a little bit about Rio. The players want to make their way to Warville, which is a frontier town to the edge of the civilization, close to the swamplands. It will take the party just over 4 hours to reach Warville, as travelling by road increases their movement speed through this region. I know it will take 4 hours. I'll have 4 different players each roll a d6. I'm doing 4 because I'm using provincial scale. Provincial scale is 1 mile hexes, and the road is relatively dangerous with bandit and frogling activity. If a player rolls a 1 on the d6, I'll roll on my random encounter chart, which has a variety of combat and role-playing encounters on them. Anything from bandits to travelling merchants to frogmen and other groups of adventurers. It's really that simple. I'll add a little bit of narrative of things that they see or hear as they travel, whilst tying in the potential encounters so it suits, what's going on. In this system, travel didn't take a few days. But what if it did? Well, first I'd choose how many times I'd want the party to roll for random encounters, how many times a day, so maybe 2, 3, 4, 8. It's really up to you. Have them make those rolls, and then adjudicate the results. It's really that simple. If my players don't roll a 1 on any of their checks, they'll just continue until they reach the end of the travel time, so, 7, 8 hours. after which they will search for a location to camp. They could collect water, firewood, and pitch up tents if they've got them. This process only takes a couple of minutes of playtime with experienced players, and as long as they have food and water, they're fine to start resting, to roleplay around the campfire, to do whatever they want to do with their time. But what if they don't have supplies? Then what? Well, that's the next part of the video. Surviving. This is perhaps a little bit more optional. Not every Dungeon Master likes the idea of their players having to track rations and water, and also some players don't like doing that as well. But I really do, and it's my channel, so I'm going to talk about it. I don't actually know why I like resource management so much. I think it goes back to like the days of me playing games like RimWorld and Banished. But how about we discuss what it means to include resource management and what we can do to avoid making it pervasive for our players. I imagine none of us want to waste the time of our players, nor waste our own time either. Including things like rations and water collecting may seem a bit tedious and pointless when the whole point of your playtime is to explore, kill monsters and collect treasure. But there is nothing stopping us from including these things when it's sensible and reasonable to do so, in order to make our games feel more real. A sense of verisimilitude, perhaps. At some point during the day, I ask my players to mark off rations and water. If they have run out of those supplies, they can start searching for them in the surrounding area. A simple wisdom or survival check, if you're running a skill system, will do the trick. If they beat a DC set by you, based on the region, they find it. If they fail, they waste time and can roll again. If they fail really badly, well, perhaps they waste the rest of the day, get a little bit lost, and don't find anything. It's good to ask your players periodically during the session of play, so you can kind of run the game by each day. If you know that the fighter is running out of rations, you can now start the following morning after they've rested with the line, "You've finally all woken up from your slumber and you see the fighter is pulling out their final ration. You guys might want to consider loading them some of yours if you've got extra rations, or spend the morning foraging or hunting." I know some people don't see it this way, but the scene that I've just depicted to you guys is a challenge in itself. The party realizes that they are running out of food, so now they need to come to a decision on what to do next. Do they hunt, or do they press on and risk going hungry? Each decision could lead to a different outcome, and if you've got a ranger, for example, this is the kind of thing that they excel in. This is the kind of thing that they were made for, bless them. Obviously, in D&D there are spells like Goodberry, right? Yeah, unfortunately D&D does, in a way, discourage survival elements. You can't really, Bear Grylls in a D&D campaign and drink your own piss if the ranger is just going to face roll their character sheet and make water and food appear in front of the party. I don't allow spells like Goodberry and create food and water in my campaigns, and I think it's improved the survival aspects and opportunities of my campaigns drastically. Some players and some people in general have disagreed with me banning those spells in other videos in the comment section, but those people are astronomically 110% wrong, and I will fight anybody to the grave on it. You're wrong! You're wrong! Okay? These sorts of challenges is what makes a good sandbox campaign, and by skipping all of this, you're skipping the sandbox. Does that make any sense to you guys? I don't want anyone going away from this video feeling like I dismiss other styles of play. What I'm trying to do with this video is empower those of you who are interested in improving the exploration and survival pillars of your campaigns and have the information and knowledge you need to make good decisions. Everyone knows that exploration, survival, and puzzles are undervalued and underappreciated in modern gaming. Everyone knows this. People just ignore it, right? But that's the facts. I'm just trying to help you guys understand why and what we can do to change this. I'm sure many of the LAG grognards who are very frequently in my comment section can tell us many stories of their game sessions back in the 70s and 80s on how they were, managing resources and doing real sandbox adventuring. So this is the last part of the video, and it's what I spoke about and teased at the beginning. I've created some charts for you guys today, which I'm very happy for you to take and use in your own games. It's about running survival scenarios in your campaigns. These scenarios aren't supposed to be a big deal, but what they do is add some extra excitement and immersion to your play sessions. Not every situation needs to be a fight or a roleplay encounter. Sometimes it could just be a bit of exploration or a survival situation. So I've got two charts, one for forest survival encounters and one for swamp. I was originally only going to give you guys a swamp one, as it's the one that I've originally made for my campaigns, but I understand that most of you guys probably aren't playing in a swamp, so I decided to be accessible for you guys today and give you a more kind of obvious biome that is pretty much going to be used in any campaign, which is forest, right? If you're a patron, you can actually get access to a survival chart for 4 of the major biomes on the screen by donating at our $3 tier, or 6 if you donate at the $6.99 tier. You'll also get access to all of the existing content, which includes many charts, systems, and tables from our previous videos on the channel. So feel free to check that out, guys. And thank you to everybody who's become a patron so far. I definitely should start having all the patrons' names at the end of my videos, but we'll do that at some point. We'll get around to that. Maybe I'll do it for this video. But as promised, here are the forest and swamp charts. I run these as an additional option on the D6 for a random encounter. If I roll a 1, it's a combat or roleplay encounter. If I roll a 2, it's a survival situation. That means there is a 1 in 3 chance of something happening every single time I roll the dice. And I think that's pretty cool. If you can just choose to arbitrarily roll on this chart whenever you feel like you need to or want to, and that's fine as well. You could even roll a survival scenario as a result on the Wandering Monster table chart for your area, and that could be another way of doing it too. I tried to make these tables as system agnostic as I could to make it easier for you guys who are using different systems. Things are changing in the TTRPG space, and I think it's very important that people who are making homebrew content are making it with more than just one system in mind. Everybody's playing different things right now. I mean, I'm running Shadow Dark one-shots on the channel, so I want to make sure I've got content out there that works for, relatively speaking, any D20 system. Hopefully you guys can tie it all in and make sense of it. Make sure you guys have liked the video if you haven't already, as you've, got to the end. Thank you very much. Every like really does help the channel. It really, really does. It tells YouTube that this video is good and that they should promote it and send it out to more people. And if you're not already a subscriber, well, I'd really appreciate your support. We're on the road to 3,000 subscribers, and it isn't easy for small channels to grow, as I'm sure you guys can understand. So yeah, I'd really appreciate it. Anyway, guys, I hope you guys liked the video today. I'll see you guys next time on Loki's Lair. Until then.